Hey guys, what's up? It is the one and only RJ21 here, and today I'm going to be recapping week 2 of Big Brother 25 and giving my power rankings of the house guests as of right now. So with that out of the way, let's get into the recap. Week 2 started with Hisam winning the HOH and Jared being sent to the Nether region, the twist for this week. Before nominations could happen, Jared came back from the Nether region and explained that throughout the week, periodically, people would be sent to the Nether region, kind of like a chain, where the last person who was at the Nether region would send the next person, and then the next person. So Jared had the opportunity to send somebody to the Nether region before the nomination ceremony, essentially giving them safety for the entire week. This is important because Jared ends up choosing to send Jag to the Nether region, giving him safety for the entire week. After that, Hisam ends up nominating Cameron and Riley, with Riley being his target. Before the veto ceremony, Jag comes back from the Nether region and he has to choose one house guest to send to the Nether region, and that house guest will not be eligible to compete in the veto competition. The veto players end up being Hisam, Cameron, and Jag as the HOH in the 2 nominees, and Blue, America, and Matt getting chosen. So it's essentially like a 4v1v1, where Riley, Matt, America, and Blue would all use the veto on Riley, Cameron would save himself, and Hisam would keep everything the same. Despite it being like a 4v1v1 or a 5v1 of keeping noms the same versus changing them, Hisam ends up winning the veto, winning his 3rd competition in 2 weeks. Hisam decides to keep his nominations the same and seal Riley's fate. It seems like Riley is going to get voted out near unanimously except for maybe 3 votes from her allies, but there was actually a flip that was orchestrated that tried to be implemented. The likes of Cirie, Felicia, and Izzy, mostly those 3, but mostly just Cirie and Izzy, they were really off-put by Hisam's veto speech, and they felt that Hisam was getting on a power trip. So, in the way to kind of just like throw a middle finger to Hisam, they wanted to flip the vote and keep Riley, somebody who would actively target the other side, specifically Hisam, somebody that they wanted out of the house. Unfortunately, despite all the back and forth, the flip did not go through, and Riley was evicted unanimously by a vote of 12-0. The house dynamics stayed relatively the same. The professors stayed professor strong, and now that Riley is out of the house, family style is essentially fractured, and they're trying to pick up the pieces of what is left and trying to realign themselves with the power players on the professor side. Players like Cirie, Felicia, Izzy, and Jared. They're trying to realign themselves with them to hopefully build them more ground in the future. How successful that is, we'll have to wait and see. But as it stands right now, the house dynamics are heavily leaning in favor of the professors. And it seems like it might be a professor steamroll. But with this new HOH, everything could change. Before we get into the power ranking, here's a quick disclaimer. This video is being filmed after the veto competition, so it's being filmed on Saturday. Meaning I know who the week 3 HOH is, who they nominated, and who the winner of the power veto was. So that information will be factoring into my power rankings, but it honestly doesn't change that much. So with those disclaimers out of the way, let's get into the power ranking. I'll just briefly recap the power rankings from last week. These people were removed from the house last week, so it doesn't really matter, or they don't really factor. So at number 17, I have Luke Valentine. And at number 16, we have Kirsten Elwin. They were evicted, or they were expelled and evicted respectively last week, so there's no point in talking about them. Now let's get into the actual power ranking. At number 15, the most recently evicted house guest we have is Riley. And it's unfortunate losing Riley this early. I feel like she was she wasn't a good player by any means, but she was going to play hard, and she was really messy and really chaotic. Before the season started, I said that Riley reminded me of Nicole from Big Brother 16, but I wasn't expecting her to be like Nicole from Big Brothers 18 and 22 with a little bit of Raven from Big Brother 19 sprinkled in there. I wasn't expecting that at all, but that's how she ended up playing. It's also just really unlucky that the house split was entirely blamed on her. The house split wasn't necessarily her fault, but because she was the HOH, the majority of the blame was pinned on her. And with somebody like Hisam winning HOH, someone who was so gung-ho and dead set on getting Riley out, I don't think Riley had any chance of really staying. Although the votes were there to flip for her to stay, Riley just couldn't keep her mouth shut, and she just kept saying the wrong things that made the professor side of the house, specifically Cirie and Izzy, not want to keep her in the house because of her loose mouth and how much of a loose cannon she could be. So that's why they got her out of the house. I'm really sad that she left this early, but if she didn't leave this week, she probably would be leaving like next week because she wasn't that good of a player. Now time to get into the actual power ranking. At number 14, I have Hisam. And Hisam theoretically shouldn't be this low. He was the HOH. He got exactly what he wanted in Riley being evicted and it being a unanimous vote, and he has the professors backing him up. So he should be in a much better position than he was last week, but he had a horrible HOH week. Hisam dictated his HOH like a dictatorship. He told everybody what he wanted and how they were going to do it, and he was basically just telling everybody how to act. And that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, especially his alliance, to the point where they are now actively targeting him. He is a backdoor target for the next round. They actively want to target him and take him out, despite him being the biggest physical asset for the professor side of the house. Hisam should be a valuable asset for the professor side, but they're just not choosing to keep him in because of how he has been behaving. Overall, Hisam played this HOH week maybe not as bad as, no, he played his HOH worse than Riley. At least when Riley left the week, she had allies backing her up. With Hisam leaving his HOH week, every single person is targeting him. Nobody wants to keep him in the house, and that is the worst position to be in. And what's even worse is he doesn't even realize that he's the target. He doesn't even realize that the professors have turned on him. All he's thinking is that I just had such a good HOH week when he didn't. And because of his poor gameplay and his poor positioning, I have to keep Hisam here at number 14. At number 13, I have Cameron. And Cameron is basically in the same spot he was last week, except now he doesn't have his closest ally in the game, in Riley. I mean, he does have Red, but that bond I don't think is necessarily as strong as the other finalists we've seen in the house. Cameron's role in this house is a pawn. He's basically just existing until he's eventually going to get picked off. With the HOH, he was nominated as a pawn. He's certainly not going home. But if the veto does go wrong, which it didn't, but if it did, he would definitely be the one going home. He has very little runway for his future in the game, and he has no one going to actively bat for him. So he's definitely not in a very good position. He's on the bottom. Nobody's actively working with him, and he's honestly just living there until he eventually gets evicted pre-jury, because I don't see him making a long run at all, which is why he's here at number 13. At number 12, I have somebody who is relatively in the same position as last week, which is Izzy. Now, the reason Izzy hasn't risen any higher is because she's still overplaying her hand, she's still being perceived as untrustworthy, and she's not building genuine bonds with the other side of the house. Izzy is trying to build alliances with people on the other side of the house, but she's not building genuine connections with them, and that's her biggest flaw, in that she's not actively going to bat. She is going to bat. She's overplaying her hand. She's showing that she's an active game player, but she's not showing that she's a genuine person. And with the family style side of the house, I think genuinity is a huge, huge important factor to them. So the fact that Izzy isn't showing them that side of her, it's definitely hurting her game. And I feel like if things were to go wrong with an HOH or a veto, Izzy would definitely be targeted by the likes of maybe a Blue or a Matt. Actually, no, maybe not a Blue or a Matt, but I feel like if somebody like an America won HOH, Izzy might be a prime target for her. So she has really solid allies, but I just can't foresee a future in which Izzy is going to make it to Final Three with Cirie and Jared, which is what she wants. But even in that position, she'll get evicted in third, and she knows that, and she actively wants to go there. So that's also making me like question her game ability. But overall, I think Izzy's maybe she's not in as bad of a position as a Hisam or Cameron. She definitely has the allies, but I just don't know if her overplaying is going to keep her in this game for the long run, which is why I have her here at number 12. At number 11, I have Red. And he's in relatively the same spot. He's aligned with the professors. He does have Cameron as a +1, or like as a parachute for him. That is really his like ride or die in this game. But other than that, Red's really not involved in the house. He's not talking a lot of game. He's not really building bonds with other people. He's kind of just like existing with the professors and riding with them. And he's being very passive. Red's just being very passive, and I don't think that's going to carry him very far. I think he'll make it to the early jury stages of the game, but he's definitely not going to win. I don't know if I don't want to say he's definitely not going to win, but he definitely doesn't have the longevity like other players in this game have. He only has the professors, which barely want to keep him, and he only has Cameron, somebody who has no power in the game. So with that, Red himself has very little power in the game. He's being very passive, and I just don't know if that's going to bode well for him in the future, which is why I have him here at number 11. Now at number 10, I have Bowie Jane. Bowie Jane is in a very similar position with Red in that she doesn't have, the difference is that like Bowie Jane doesn't have a +1 or a ride or die that is actively fighting to take her to the end like Red does. But Bowie is much better positioned within the professor's side in that she has the Triple B alliance that is going to protect her and keep her safe. Red is being left out of strategy talks because they don't want to include him. Bowie Jane is intentionally being left out of strategy talks because her alliance mates recognize that she doesn't do well when given lots of information. If she's given an information overload, it's just going to stress her out and lead to very poor rationalizing and decision making, which is why she's actively being left out of strategy talks, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing in that it's a bad thing in that she's not gaining this information, but it's a good thing in showing that her alliance mates do actually care about her and are keeping her in the loop. So I feel like that's really good for her. But she's also playing too passively, and I feel like that's not going to create a lot of runway for her in the future. I forgot where I found it, but somebody on either Twitter or Reddit said that they can see Bowie Jane getting evicted in a double eviction if something goes wrong and they don't know who to take out. And I completely agree with that. I can totally imagine Bowie Jane being taken out in a double, similar to like Ashley from Big Brother 14 or Joe or Chef Joe from Big Brother 14. So these people who are non-factors in the game and were just simply taken out as collateral damage. I can definitely see that trajectory for Bowie Jane, and that doesn't give me a lot of confidence about her, which is why I have her here at number 10. At number 9, I have Blue. And I think Blue is becoming the biggest preseason flop for me personally. Before she came into the season, she talked about how she was going to be this spicy and feisty diva-esque figure, and I was really excited to see that because we haven't really seen a figure like that on Big Brother US. I mean, we had like Spicy V on BBCan 9, and that was really fun and interesting to see, but Blue isn't that. Blue is, no offense, but Blue seems like a very generic Gen Z TikTok-esque figure in like how she like portrays herself in the diary room and how she talks when like in all that strategy talk and things like that. And it's honestly, it doesn't rub me the wrong way. It's just kind of disappointing because I was definitely expecting her to be a much more active player, somebody who was playing the game a lot harder, and she ends up kind of taking the back seat, and that's why she's this low. She has people close to her, somebody like a Jag and a Matt and an America, these people who do really like her and want to align with her, but other than that, she's not having any really solid alliances outside of that. I know there's an alliance forming this week between Cirie, Felicia, Izzy, Jared, and then Blue, Matt, and Jag, I know that's forming, but I feel like Blue is on the outmost side of that because players like Cirie and Izzy have talked about how they want nothing to do with Blue because they don't trust her, which leads me to believe that she might get taken out like maybe one week before the jury starts or something, or very early jury. And that honestly worries me. But Blue does have allies that want to keep her in the game, which is a really good positive for her. I just wish that she was a lot more active in her gameplay, which is why she is here at number 9. At number 8, we have America. And it's really disappointing to have her this low. I was really high on her week 1 in that I thought she was going to play a really solid under-the-radar floater game. And I thought she positioned herself really well as being perceived as a number for the professor side of the house. But after this week, it's very apparent that she is clearly aligning herself with the family style side of the house. And that has caused the professors to not see her as a valuable or reliable number anymore, which is definitely damaging for her game. And it's really disappointing to see that because she had a lot of potential. She had a lot of options moving forward, and she just closed all of them. And now she doesn't have as much runway as she used to. She still has the likes of like a Nicole or a Corey like in her back pocket, but that's not going to carry her as far in the game as building bonds with the likes of somebody like a Cirie or an Izzy or even a Felicia. Like, she doesn't have these strong connections with these power players very early on, and that's going to limit the amount of runway she has moving forward in this game. And it's really disappointing to see. It's decent, but it's not the best. And that's why I have America here at number 8. At number 7, I'm really happy to see this person move up because they definitely had a very rough week 1. But after Riley's eviction, this person has definitely upped their gameplay. So here at number 7, I have Jag. And the best thing that Jag has done this week is opening up his options. Week 1, he was very family style, stick together, family style, staying loyal. We're not going to conversate with the other side. We're going to target them actively. But now that Riley's gone, he's been able to open up to the professor side of the house more, allowing him to build very strong inroads with these power players in Cirie and Felicia. And now they actively want to work with him. Despite being put up on the block this week, he ends up winning the power of veto, which is honestly just going to help his positioning even more. With the alliance I stated earlier with Cirie, Izzy, Felicia, Jared, and then Jag, Matt, and Blue, with Jag winning the veto, this is just going to help solidify his loyalty to that new 7-person alliance. And if that alliance can stay true to one another, Jag is going to be in a great position. My only fear is that that alliance won't stay true to one another, and Jag is going to be targeted actively. And that definitely does worry me for his future in the game. But as it is right now, if this alliance stands true, he has really great social positioning as of right now. And I hope that he can hold on to that and strengthen his bonds to keep him safer in the game, which is why I have Jag here at number 7. Now at number 6, we have Matt. And it's really impressive to see Matt rise this high. From week 1, it seemed like he was very pro-family style, and I didn't really see the potential for him to expand his options outward. But with him losing Riley, his number 1 ally, he's been a lot more malleable and adaptable in opening up his options and connecting with more people. Now people like Cirie are actively strategizing with Matt and including him in plans, something that wasn't happening when he was aligned with Riley. Even though he is very pro, like, I'm going to stick with the people I originally aligned with in Jag and Blue, even though he is sticking with them very closely, Matt is still building great inroads with the other side of the house, which is further bettering his position in the game. The reason I have him above Jag is because Jag was nominated. And if the veto went wrong, the professors definitely had the numbers to take Jag out. Would they have done so? Probably not. But still, the fact that they were willing to risk Jag's safety is what made me put him below Matt. With Matt, the professors weren't willing to risk his safety on the block, especially with the likes of Heisem targeting him. They are now showing that they actively want to protect Matt, and that is going to be great for him. As long as he can maintain those solid bonds with those power players, I think he has a long way to go in this game, which is why I have him here at number 6. At number 5, I have Corey. And Corey was a bit of a non-factor this week. He was included on the plan to flip the vote and take Cameron out over Riley. But other than that, he was very passive, and it didn't seem like he was the decision maker in any of the moves made this week. He played a lot of a backseat role, and while he does have solid bonds with people like outside of his like core alliance in like America and Mecole, even those two aren't even trusting him as much as he trusts them, which means he's leaking a lot more information than they're willing to give to him, which is not a very fair trade, and it's gonna get him in trouble. But he does have a very solid alliance with Cirie, Jared, Felicia, and Izzy. With Cirie, Jared, and Izzy, that's a very strong 4-person alliance. And if Corey can maintain that, Corey's gonna be in a very good position. But he didn't really actively work this week to better his position. He kind of just stuck with the people he was with last week and just stayed there, and it was stagnant. And with the game like Big Brother, you can never be stagnant, which is why I have Corey here at number 5. At number 4, I have Felicia. And I am so excited to have Felicia this high because I just love her as a character. She's honestly my favorite player this season. I will be voting for her for America's Favorite House Guest, unless she does something crazy. Then I obviously won't. But as of right now, Felicia is like my favorite house guest this season. She's just such a fun energy and such a fun presence, and she ends up being the week 3 HOH, which is great for her. Week 3 HOHs have proven to be very good in the past and have produced a lot of strong winners. So if Felicia is able to enact her week 3 HOH in the best way possible, she's setting herself up very well for the end game. Felicia did nominate Cameron and Jag, which obviously does create a little bit of tension, but she made the right move in telling Jag and Cameron that they were going to go up. But she didn't tell them, you're going up because of your alliance, da-da-da-da-da. She was very, calm and polite about it in the sense of, I'm putting you up, but just know you are not the target. And she's done a really good job in lying to people this week. I wasn't expecting Felicia to be this good of a liar for this week, but she's been doing a very solid job. And she's now helped solidify this 7-person alliance I've been talking about for the last couple of people. And this is just going to help further her position in the game. She's been underestimated by her fellow competitors, but now that she's proving herself, she's building a lot of runway for her in the future. And I can see Felicia going very far in this game. Is she going to win? I don't know yet, but I'm hoping that she can continue the strong run she has, which is why I have her here at number 4. Now at number 3, I have Mecole. And Mecole is doing a great job at laying under the radar. I think she was the main head or figurehead of the don't flip the vote sentiment. And even though a majority of the House did want to flip the vote, Mecole was the voice of reason for the professor saying we shouldn't flip the vote. If we take Hisam out, we can do that, but we don't want him to know that we're going against him. And she was that voice of reason that the professors needed. And now going into this week, they're enacting her plan, and it was because of her and her resistance to flipping the vote to save Riley. She was able to successfully recognize that Riley was not good for her game. Riley was good for the people flipping the vote, but it wasn't good for her. So that is why she actively went against the plan, and they stuck with that. And they stuck with Mecole, and that is really impressive work from her. It's also proven that Cirie is somebody who wants to work with Mecole long term. The fact that she's being included in these plans to flip despite her resistance shows that they want to keep her in the loop because she is a solid ally for them. And that is honestly great for Mecole. If she can continue to play this under the radar game and these other bigger players get taken out, she has a really good shot at the money. Is she going to be able to fully enact that? I don't know. My hesitancy makes me think possibly not, but I have really high hopes for Mecole's future in the game, which is why I have her here at number 3. At number 2, I have Jared, and it's the same top 2 as last week. It's still the Fields, and Jared is still here at number 2 because even though he has cleaned up his gameplay, he is still being very sloppy. He does have a lot of runway for the future, but he has been actively getting closer to blue. And that's definitely not rubbing people the wrong way, but it is definitely exposing some of his possible allegiances. And that could lead to him getting targeted in the future, which is definitely not a good thing for him. However, he does still have a lot of solid, strong allies. Cirie, Izzy, Felicia, Corey. Those four definitely want to work with him. And he has other inroads with people like a Jag, a Blue, a Matt, maybe even an America. But he has these really good inroads, and as long as he can help further develop these relationships, he has a lot of runway for the future. I know I've been saying runway a lot, but I think that's the most important thing when I'm considering these power rankings is how much longevity does a player have through their positioning within the game. And Jared has some of the best positioning in this game. Although I do fear that he may get targeted due to his sloppy gameplay, I don't see that happen for a long time in the future. So with that, I have Jared here at number 2. At number 1, still number 1, we have Cirie. And it was so impressive. Cirie's gameplay this week was impressive. Not in the sense that, she flipped the vote. It's just her ability to flip the vote. The fact that she has so much social capital within this game to where she can flip the vote back and forth. And nobody's looking at her like sideways or side-eyeing her and looking at her as untrustworthy just shows how much trust she has within the house. There are so many people actively willing to go to bat for Cirie. She has Jared, Izzy, Felicia, Nicole, Corey. She even has new allies in Jag, Matt, and Blue. And even like in America. And even the people that are on the bottom still actively like Cirie and want to keep her in the game. And it's crazy that she's in this position in the first place. Like, the entire house sees her as trustworthy. And she's coming into this game as a known Survivor legend, a known Survivor fan favorite. Yet nobody's considering that in whether or not they should target her. Because she's just built that many solid, genuine connections with people. And I think she's due for a long time in this game. Unless there's a wall yeller that says Cirie is playing everybody, I don't see Cirie getting targeted or getting taken out anytime soon, which is why I have Cirie as number 1 still. Overall, this week has been interesting. It definitely wasn't as chaotic as week 1, but it was still very interesting in how people played this week and how plans have shifted and how Hisam went from solidly with the professors to being the number 1 target for the entire house, and seeing Cirie's impressive gameplay in how she was able to flip the vote back and forth with no repercussions. It was a very interesting week. This week with Felicia being HOH and her targeting Hisam, it could be a little bit more of a stagnant week in terms of gameplay or entertainment value, but with a Felicia HOH, I'm expecting nothing but the best. So I'm still excited for the future of this season. As it stands right now, I think somebody from the Triple B Alliance, the Bye Bye Bitches, is going to win this game. Because I feel like just that alliance in and of itself is such a strong group of players with such a well-rounded set of skills. I think they're all going to make a very deep run in this game. And I wouldn't be shocked if one of them became the new winner of Big Brother 25. So, with all of that in mind, thank you for watching. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like down below. Subscribe if you're new. Share with your friends if you have any of those. And I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.